What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Neon Camouflage Podcast. I'm your host, Max. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Adam Duran. Welcome.
Good to be here, brother.
Absolutely, yeah. How's it going? Like, in general?
It's good.
Things are good?
Yeah, praise God, man.
Awesome.
We're in Naples, Florida. How much can you complain?
Right? Right? Yeah,
Sitting
it's paradise.
outside by a pool in a quote-unquote lake.
Yeah, it's weird. That's weird that... Because people in Florida don't realize what a lake is till they go somewhere where there's actually a lake.
Oh, yeah, straight up.
100%. So, yeah, man, I had sent you a list of questions, had a chance to look them over. So, let me actually get those up right now, and I'll just ask you the first one, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, jump right in.
So, for background, you are a business owner, entrepreneur, have been in essentially IT. Is that kind of what your job would fall
adjacent.
into? Okay.
IT adjacent, you could say.
So, what do you do exactly?
Yeah, so, I've been in this field for close to 25 years.
Okay.
And I started in voice data fiber infrastructure. So basically what that looks like is we design and install voice and data cabling, fiber optic cabling infrastructure, right? And so, the simple way to understand that is, let's say XYZ University builds a building. We're going to go in there and we're going to cable the whole thing for, phones, computers, wireless access points, anything that's on the network. And then we're going to take, fiber optic cable, connect that to another building so that thing can then be brought onto the internet. And so
Gotcha.
That's where I started. It was about 15 years of that straight. And then when I started my own company, which was, about 13 years ago now, we moved into security, electronic security. And so then...
It's like cybersecurity or something
No.
different?
So all of this is physical in the sense of we're actually deploying devices,
Gotcha.
right? And so, and really the reason we moved into security, it was a pretty, you could say, organic shift in the sense that everything came onto the network, right? And so at one point in the history of the industry, you had these systems kind of siloed to their own, to their own system virtually, and they really didn't talk to each other. And so as the network evolved and we started to come into what's called the Internet of Things, you were able to then start to bring everything onto the network, right? And so now, where you would at one point just have, voice and data communications on the network, you can now integrate security onto the network, right? Gotcha. And so the reason we moved into security is because really security came onto the network. Okay. And so for us, it was like, hey, we would go into a building and we would be cabling it for data communication, and it was like, hey, the customer wants a camera. Okay, cool. So, we do some research, determine that, all we have to do is pull a data cable to a camera now. It used to even take a whole different type of cable. Right. So it wasn't a category cable, it was its own cable. More akin to like what you would see for cable TV, right?
Gotcha.
And so it just evolved to where we would then start putting these devices on the network. So that's how we moved to security. And what that would include would be CCTV, access control, and intrusion alarm.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so the internet, in effect, the network, in effect, allows all of these things to come under one umbrella and be managed really from a browser, quite frankly.
Gotcha.
And so,
where it didn't previously used to be like that.
Yeah, it used to be its own standalone system. It had its own terminal. Really, you would even have in that building we were just talking about, you would have like the IT guys, right, managing the network. And so to kind of build a background for that way that relationship would work, you would have us, we would come in, we'd cable the whole building, build all the racks, load all the equipment into the racks, and then we'd hand it off to the IT guys.
Gotcha.
And then the IT guys would come in and basically just do all the management. So we were on what's called the OSI model, layer 1 of the OSI. We're the bottom layer, and everything is built on top of us.
What does OSI stand for?
Open System Interconnection. That's kind of like the framework for data communication.
Gotcha.
The OSI model. And so, yeah, and to tell you the truth, I haven't been in the data world for probably close to 8 years at this point. I mean, the company has just moved so far into security that that's all we do at this point. I mean, we might do voice and data here and there, but it's far removed. I mean, I honestly love that. That's my background. I really enjoy that type of work, but the market demands security, so we give it security.
Yeah. And I was actually going to ask about that. Like, obviously, your business is doing great. You guys are, working on a daily basis on multiple jobs, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
What is the demand like for that kind of security for large buildings or anything like that? Is it something where it's like enough to keep you guys busy?
Oh,
or
dude.
Is it very competitive?
Yeah.
Like,
it is a wide open industry. In fact, I was reading some studies. I think this is probably about 6 months ago, so I'm not going to have them exactly right.
Okay.
But
yeah.
When you look at market capitalization,
Mm-hmm.
the electronic security market is set to like double in the next 5 to 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So again, these numbers aren't accurate, but let's just say it's
In supply or demand?
well in market
Both?
cap, right?
Okay, gotcha.
So yes,
Yeah.
demand ultimately would be the driver there.
Yeah.
And so therefore, right, the supply must come to the table to meet the demand.
Right.
And so, let's just hypothetically say it's 4 billion or whatever right now, right? It's set to go to 8 billion in the next, whatever 4 to 10 years, something like that.
That's wild.
No, it really is, dude. I mean, to give you an idea, when COVID hit, we were considered essential employees. So our business didn't take a hit at all when COVID hit. In fact, we were given letters from the mayor, governor, to be out and to work.
That is wild.
Yeah, because of the nature of the industry.
And you guys weren't here in
No.
COVID,
So
were you?
yeah, the company. I started the company in Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's where I was
Okay.
born and raised. And then about 4 years after we got that branch established, we moved to Colorado. Started another branch in Denver. That has since become our main operation. And then now we've obviously been in Florida for the last year and a half, and we have another office in Tampa.
Cool.
Yeah. So we were in Colorado during COVID.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
which was a pretty restrictive state at that
Yeah.
time.
Surprisingly, you would kind of think.
I
I mean,
it's really shifted. The politics out there have gone from, what at one point was, I forget what they call that, like a purple state. So some blue, some
Yeah.
red, to just like full on.
or like a swing state. Is that?
Yeah, it
know,
wasn't
but-
even a swing. Well, it wasn't like. I mean, maybe it would have been. Maybe it would have been a swing state at one point. I don't know. But the politics really were just like pretty middle of the road, and now they've over the last 10 years. Well, since I've been there for sure. I was there for 8 years. It's gone like full on blue state. And so, needless to say, we had a lot of restrictions during COVID. And in fact, much of the reason we left Colorado, despite the opportunity, because there's a lot of it in Denver in particular, was because of that. There were things that fundamentally we disagree with as Christians that,
Yeah.
we were dissatisfied. And so, well, where else would you go? It's like Texas or Florida, right?
Right. Exactly.
So we came here, we were on vacation for 2 months, and we were staying at a VRBO. We found the church, fell in love from day one with the church and the people there, and preaching was phenomenal, and decided a few months later, once we got back to Colorado, that it was time to move. And we had bought this house when we were here on vacation. We bought it as a vacation rental.
Cool.
And then just decided to basically move into it. And so,
There you go.
yeah, so I know now we're kind of all over the map here, but
Yeah. No, that's good. It's all good.
But yeah, back to your question, the demand is certainly growing. Let's put it that way.
Gotcha.
It's a good industry. I mean, technology in general is always a good industry, right?
Yeah.
It's like medicine. I mean, it's a thing that will ever be in demand.
Right.
And so, when you're if you're thinking about where to go, I mean, there's like the trades are good for sure. Always the trades. Like if you're
Yeah.
not someone that's going to pursue a degree, now, pursuit of degrees, finance, lawyer, doctor, like
Yeah.
those are good degrees, right?
Yep.
Underwater basket weaving, not a good degree, transgender, non-binary carbon studies, not a good degree, you
Yeah.
know? So, but like, degrees where you have a true career path, right? And the 3 I listed are pretty solid. And there's all kinds of variations of those degrees.
Yeah.
And, and if that's not your gig, the trades, man, the trades are ultimately just always in demand.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's something we need, right, as a society to function. And so this is the trade I came into, and I've been in it for 25 years.
Awesome. Good stuff. Alrighty, second on the list, we've got you kind of already answered it, but like, what inspired you to start your business? It was kind of more of a, from what I'm hearing, like falling kind of into it per se, where you're already working in that, and then as the industry is evolving, you're evolving with it. You're then starting the business. Oh, this is doing well. Okay.
Yeah.
Getting into it, keeping on.
Yeah, honestly, one of the. So I would say.
Was there a specific moment where you thought to yourself, okay, I want to do this and I want to do it well, type thing?
Yeah, well, I'll actually start I'm going to go a little bit further back than that question.
Okay,
so, man, I hope these birds aren't too crazy on the podcast. It's funny.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's like the Nature Channel, right?
Exactly.
So they're having a fight, apparently. Yeah, so let me kind of go a little bit further back. So what brought me into the industry was I was finishing high school, and my oldest son now, I have 7 kids. He's now going to be 24 this year. In fact, he just started Ranger School.
Oh, yeah, you did tell me that.
So he wrapped up RASP.
That is awesome.
Yeah, he actually literally started Ranger School this week, so he's in the throes of it.
Man, that's so cool.
It's amazing, dude.
I'd love to have him on the podcast sometime if
so
he's
proud
ever
of him.
in town.
Dude, he's like eyeball deep in military, so we'll just see what he does. I mean, he'll be, when he gets to Florida phase, he'll be here for a little bit, but
cool.
He doesn't have any free time.
Right.
But anyway, he was being born. I was 18 years old, obviously not a Christian at that point, and I needed a job, and so my dad knew a guy. My dad's a lifelong police officer, chief of police at this point, back in Albuquerque, New Mexico, for APS. And, he knew a guy, and that guy gave me a job, and this guy owned a voice and data company, right? And so that's where I started. And and I think this is important to state. There's two main things, 2 super important things. The guy was a Christian, and he's the guy who actually preached the gospel to me for the first time. So, I didn't get saved until many years later, but that's where God planted the seed, so to speak.
Was your dad, mom?
No, I didn't grow up in the church.
Okay.
We were nominal Catholics at best. And but then the second thing was just choosing to stay in one thing.
Yeah.
There's really a lot to be said about that. I mean, it's like there's this notion of follow your passion, and I would venture to say that most of the time at a young age, your passion really is your hobby.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like it's okay to have hobbies and do the things that we enjoy, but this idea of just, I'm going to try this and I'm going to try that. Like certainly to a degree you want to do that. When you're young, you want to do that. But the sooner you can just find what you're going to do and stay in it, especially if it's going to be a trade, and you can master that. And that's why I say that, right? To lead up to kind of that discussion of starting my business. And so, 2 really important things just from early on that I think were super impactful in that regard. And at the time, I didn't realize that. I didn't start the trade and think, hey, this is my career.
Right.
I started the trade thinking I need a job. Yeah. And then come to find out, I really liked it. Like as I'm growing and learning in the industry and just moving through it, it's super interesting, man. It's, and then there's a real satisfaction in life to just a job well done, to leaving for the day and being able to look at your work and say, this was excellent. I did this with excellence.
Yeah.
It's tremendously fulfilling in that regard. And so, well, now fast forward, I worked for that company for 4 years. They end up hitting hard times, so they have to lay off like 2/3 of the company. I was part of that layoff. I go to the next company. I'm there for also about 4 years. I end up leaving that company because it was family owned and there was just a ceiling that I couldn't get by. It was a great company. I mean, I left that company on, wonderful terms with everybody. In fact, when I got my contractor's licensing, because there's several stages of licensing you have to get in any trade, right? You have to get a journeyman's license, and then if you're going to move into contracting, then it'd be your contractor's licensing, and that just takes years in the making to even be able to apply for those things. But for instance, when I left that company and after that, I actually went back to the owner of that company, and he's the one who signed off on my contractor's licensing affidavit, to allow me to be qualified and take the tests. And so So